Alright, so this video is going to detail the brown sequence and the green sequence. With the brown sequence, we're going to start with a 4-note scale. I use this instead of the traditional 5-finger exercise because of the patterns that it teaches. And these sequences are all about not only strengthening fingers, making them independent and right at our command, but also at the same time learning gestures, how to use our hands, and learning patterns, putting into our library things that'll make it easier later on to memorize a piece, to sight read a piece, etc. So, the 4-note scale. We will start with the brown sequence. Your tonic may be a C, a G, D, A, or E, or a B. So I'll do the examples in the key of C. We don't use our thumbs for this, so you can tuck them under. If you can't, keep them relaxed to the side. If you see them doing that, then just tuck them under. And once again, we're exaggerating in these sequences, this, at least at this level, this up and down with a curve kind of motion that we did in the yellow, peach, and red sequence. So this strong, you can even hear me tapping, not a collapsed finger, not a flat finger. We don't raise it flat, we raise it curved, come down curved, and strong. Not on our tips like this, a little more on the pad. Alright, so when we do these, they're slow, they're exaggerated in that lift, and here's how we do it. Once again, we're going to start on our 2, our second finger on C. And while you do it, especially, everyone, young and old, say note, whole, whole, half, then we go down. You don't have to do the then we go down, but at least note, whole, whole, half. Once again, I'm doing this to establish this pattern. Whole step, first of all, is defined as one note on the keyboard that we've skipped. Okay, so a step or a second, but we're going to have skipped one note. A half step would be as close as we can get on the piano. No note is skipped. Okay, so note, whole, half, then, down. You notice I'm doing this lift, play, lift, play, lift. So that's what I'll later call a high loud exaggeration drill. Once again, that's one of the purposes of these technique exercises. Then our left hand starts on C with its 5th finger. When I drop, everything relaxes. Relax, relax. Okay? So, right after that, I'd go into the 4th interval keyboard drill. So you take those outer notes, this interval of a 4th. An interval is the distance between 2 notes. So just like inches on a ruler, this is how we measure on the piano. And you measure by starting on the first note and counting that as 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be a 4th. Okay, so I'm going to take that 4th starting at the very bottom and do a keyboard drill just as we did in the other sequences. And I want it slow with this exaggerated roll and this marionette doll kind of look. That's better than speed right now. We're learning a gesture at the same time that we learn how to jump an octave with our hand, what that feels like. We don't want to search around just like we went over in the other sequences. We want to just do a rainbow right to it, like so. Then we would go right into the cadence, starting on that same tonic. So you've already in your chord prep learned this and you just didn't know it. Our 1 chord is where we play the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th note. If you started counting on C, we play them all together. And then you roll up to release. And then the 5-7 chord was your chord prep that you played the note separately on in the red sequence. When you did this, okay, that was the 5-7 chord. And we'll explain later why we call it a 5-7 chord. But for now, just know from the 1 chord, which usually everyone can find pretty easily, in the key of C, it's C, E, G. The bottom note would go down a half step. The middle note would change fingers to a 4 and go up a half step. Okay? So there's your 5/7 chord. So altogether the cadence will be slow, the release, 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 down to your lap. Okay, that's the cadence. Then our beginning arpeggio. We're going to cross our hands and then come back down. Slow, steady, curved. Speed is not our goal right now. We're doing our one chord, playing individual notes. All right. These are common patterns you're going to find in music. That's why we're drilling them, so that they're just so easy that when we see them in a new piece, it'll be old. It'll be already very secure in our mind, and so we can quickly learn that piece or that song. All right, the last thing of the Browns sequence is the major pentachord. From your lap, we want to eventually get to the point where, you know, those 4 notes that we've already taught you in the 4-note scale, we just add one more whole step so that each finger has a key. We're just going to see if we can go right to that and roll up. So do we get to know the pattern of C, G, D, A, E, B well enough that we're not searching or having to say note, whole, whole, half, whole, and that it's just there in our minds. So that takes some time. Now, as far as the green sequence goes, it's exactly the same as the brown. We just are now starting on black tonics. So B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. We still do the 4-note scale, then the 4th interval keyboard drill, then the cadence. But now the arpeggio is going to be 2 more octaves, so we'll start lower. So to show you D flat, we keep going across one more time. Slow, go even slower than this. My fingers are strong. I'm not doing the lift strike thing as much on that. That's mostly just the 4-note scale. I'll ask for that kind of a speed. And then the major pentachord is the same. Now we're not doing a keyboard drill out of the major pentachord. That'll happen later. Right now it's just seeing if we can get to it and go back down to our lap and so forth. So let me just show you one sequence, choosing one tonic. That's one way you can practice them. Some days you might want to just do all of the 4-note scales on all the tonics and leave the other guys out for that day. You can mix it up depending on what you need. It's up to you. But the most popular way to do it is choose a tonic and go through the whole process. So I will show you the green sequence using A flat. So I start with the 4-note scale. And I should be saying note, separately or together. Start hands separate. That would be A flat, done in a way that would be pass-offable in the green sequence. So remember to keep in mind the purpose of this exercise. It's not to get it done. It's to grow in our abilities. So if you're just going through them quickly, we're not going to grow in ability as much. You know, we want strengthening our fingers, making them independent, thinking about the pattern, the notes that we're using so that they start to get into our gray matter up there. Learning to set steady tempos, learning not to collapse our fingers, learning to lift our fingers individually, and then not just searching always for those pentachords, but challenging ourselves that day. I'm going to get to the point where I can play C without searching, or A flat pentachord without searching. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to keep trying it, see how fast I can get, try it again, faster and faster, until we just have that feel in our fingers. So purpose in practice is much better than checklist practicing.